You have collective punishment of 2.2 million people who are having their access to water, food, fuel, medicine blocked right now by Israel. This also appears to be in violation of the Geneva Conventions. Do you think that it's acceptable to impose a siege on the entire civilian population in Gaza?
If there's a violation, first of all, I don't think that's happening. Let me explain. Second of all, if it violates the Geneva Convention, or if they're deliberately, at any point, anybody is deliberately targeting civilians, they should be prosecuted and they should be jailed and the key should be thrown away. And people say this, but I don't see any proof of that. Right now, that people are deliberately targeting civilians.
But the government announced they were doing a complete siege on the 2.2 million.
Yeah, okay, you're talking about the
siege.
The siege. Now, we did for 10 years. We did collective punishment of Iraq. We actually killed.
I'm not trying to justify that either here.
But why are we just going after the Jews? Why is it only when Israel does it? Let me just finish this right now.
Our tax dollars are going to fund what's going on, and the visuals of these children being killed and losing their parents and the rubble and the total destruction. This is something our government is backing.
I have friends in Gaza. Okay, I have a friend who is a father of 5 kids, and what he's living through right now is horrible. I have many Palestinian friends. I've been to West Bank. I've met with the Palestinian leadership. I love the Palestinian people. It's excruciating watching what's happened. But why are we blaming Israel? Why are we blaming the people?
Because they're the ones dropping the bombs.
They have
with our dollars.
They have to get at Hamas. They have to destroy Hamas. And Hamas, unfortunately, built tunnels for themselves, but they did not build bomb shelters for their people. And Israel has told people, move to the south. There's food trucks there. There's medicine there. There's fuel there.
But there's not.
It's only not there because Hamas steals it. The area they told them to go to
is an area that is the size of LAX airport. It is a desert wasteland. There are no UN flag facilities. In fact, if you ask the Secretary General of the UN, he'll tell you there are no safe places in Gaza. You already have 1.8 million people who have been displaced from their homes. So, at what point do you say, okay, it's enough? Because the other piece of this, even if you say, and I know you're not saying this, I'm not putting, but even if you say, I don't care about the Palestinian lives, they got to do what they got to do. It's the cost of war. What are you going to do? There's also a lot of evidence that what they're actually doing is fomenting increasing support for Hamas. Because if you think about it, if you're a kid and your parents get blown up, what kind of politics do you think you're going to have when you grow up? Isn't that going to be tremendously radicalizing and incredibly compromising to the security of Israelis alike?
So how would you get rid of Hamas?
Well,
if you're Israel.
Well, I'm not running for president of the United States, number one. But number two, I think we have a model for this in a sense from the way we went in and approached bin Laden. So it was a targeted raid. If you're actually going to do this, you do a counter-terror operation where you go in a targeted way. You create a wedge between Hamas and the civilian population. And we see how this works in the past because previously in Israeli society, when there were pathways to peace that were on the table, where the Palestinian civilian population felt that they had a chance at negotiating some sort of a peaceful outcome, guess what? Support for Hamas falls off a cliff. It's almost a one-to-one relationship with the more brutal response from Israelis, the more support for radicalism that there is.
You can filibuster.
I'm not filibustering. You asked me a question. I'm trying to answer it.
I think you're filibustering. You're not answering the question. You're saying drive a wedge. Well, of course Israel's trying to drive a wedge.
By offering some other path that's not terrorism and not violence.
What is that path?
It's a path to a two-state solution or some sort of a just and lasting peace.
And the Palestinians not only have rejected that, but Hamas, its whole purpose was the reason that Hamas was able to get all this popular support and take over was because of its opposition to any negotiation.
Hamas just came out and said that they support Israel's PLO and recognize Israel's right to exist. On the other hand, you have the ambassador, the Israeli ambassador to the UK saying we will absolutely no to a two-state solution.
I just cannot let you tell that's just not true.
It just happened.
Ismail Haniyeh was on TV on Al Jazeera yesterday saying we're going to do this again and again and again. We will never negotiate.
Which we covered and which is disgusting. But there's no. What about the facts? But hold on. What about the fact that? What about the fact that Netanyahu and his government have said absolutely no? They built up Hamas to try to thwart any sort of Palestinian statehood. Where's the focus on that?
I'm not defending Netanyahu, and I don't co-sign what Netanyahu and Likud do. Israel is a divided country. 80 or 20% of the population were on the street demonstrating against Netanyahu. What I'm saying is the Hamas is a criminal enterprise.
Sure.
Yes. The Palestinian, and you talk about solutions for the Palestinian people. The Palestinian people are arguably the most pampered people by international aid organizations in the history of the world. Are you kidding me? No,
even before this war, 78% of people in Gaza said they had, not enough food to eat.
Right. And why is that? Why are you blaming Israel?
In part, it's Hamas, and in part, it's the fact that Israel imposed a blockade and talked about putting them on a diet.
If your neighbor, first of all, Israel has no obligation. I mean, Israel built 3,000 hothouses and gave them for greenhouses. That would have made Gaza completely food self-sufficient, gave it to them as a gift, offered to rebuild the port of Gaza to make it the Singapore of the West. Hamas said, no, we don't want you money, we don't want you ideas. And what do? The international aid agencies have given Gaza more than 10 times the per capita what we gave to rebuild all of Europe after the Marshall Plan. They've gotten $8,300 per capita, every person in Gaza. We rebuilt Europe with $621 per capita in Europe, and we rebuilt it. What did they do with that money? Instead of using it to make this, Gaza's this beautiful country, white sand beaches, it should be a paradise. Hamas said, we don't want that. They take virtually all of that money and they steal it. So the top 5 guys, the top 5 leaders of Hamas are billionaires. Ismail Haniyeh has $5 billion, according to Forbes.
But Bobby, again,
wait, let me just finish. No, because you made you are making a statement that is just wrong. It's not Israel's fault that Gaza is poverty-stricken. Gaza should be one of the wealthiest states on the Mediterranean.
They have no control over their own territory.
Of course, if you go to war,
everything that comes in and goes out.
If you go to war, no, Krystal, why are you blaming? Why do you insist on blaming Israel rather than blaming Hamas?
I do blame Hamas, but you know what else, Bobby? Our tax dollars do not go to Hamas. They go to the Netanyahu.
And you know what?
Our bombs, 22,000 of which are being bombed, dropped on the civilian population right now.
You know what most of our tax dollars have gone for? For the Iron Dome, which is a way of not invading Gaza. Our country and Israel for 16 years have expended this huge amount of money to try not to go into Gaza, while Gaza sent 2,000 rockets a year, suicide bombers, and of course Israel's going to
come in and quote-unquote mowed the lawn.
They've gone in 5 times, and every time they've signed a peace agreement with Hamas, and every time they violated that peace agreement.
Israel also has been killing Palestinians in West Bank, but hold on.
Listen,
I want to move forward.
If Mexico attacked us and we built a fence, would you blame us for caging in Mexico? Well, I don't know what it is, but everything in your mind is telling you to blame Israel,
Bobby,
instead of blaming Hamas.
Bobby, hold on.
Let me just finish
because I want to get to the end game. Then Saagar has some questions for you on free speech that I want to make sure we get to, because I think this is important as well. What Netanyahu has said and what he's tasked his senior advisor with.
Don't talk to me about Netanyahu. Let me answer your question.
I haven't even asked a question. Let me ask the question.
Let me finish answering your last question.
Can we put this element up on the screen? Netanyahu has said that he wants to, quote unquote, thin out the population of Gaza to a minimum. There is simultaneously a proposal that is being shopped here in D.C. with some bipartisan support that would use our aid dollars to countries in the region to pressure them to accept Palestinian refugees out of Gaza to enable Netanyahu's plan of, quote unquote, thinning out the population. I'm sure you know he has been very cagey about what he wants the future of Gaza to look like. What do you want the future of Gaza to look like? And is there any circumstance where you would support pushing neighboring countries to resettle Palestinians.
No, I think, listen, I don't, as I said, I don't co-sign anything for Netanyahu or for Likud.
But he's
That's
in
not what I'm
charge.
saying.
So I know, but he's
Well,
the
how
person.
would you deal with him if you're
How would you
president?
deal with it? What would be
Hell
your
no.
plan for the future of Gaza? If
I think right now, I'm all ears as how do you get rid of Hamas? I think you have to get rid of Hamas. Hamas is a criminal organization that is making the 5 leaders of it are all billionaires. By the way, Yasser Arafat died a billionaire. Mahmoud Abbas a billionaire. His 2 kids who run West Bank have $750 million. It is a criminal enterprise where they are stealing everything from the people of Gaza, and then they raise them from kindergarten to kill Jews. I saw the 43-minute film of the GoPros and the body cams, and the things that I saw on there, the rape, the burning people alive, no matter what happened to you for the rest of your life, no matter how abused you were, no matter how you could never act that way. These kids are being raised as serial killers. They're
does
being
that make
raised.
them legitimate targets?
Well, the terrorists, yes.
They're-
Right?
I'm talking
No, you're
about
talking
the
about the
terror.
kids. Does that make them legitimate targets?
No, that's not what I'm saying, Krystal. What I'm saying is Hamas is oppressing its own people. It's stealing from and it's turning them it's taking away their childhood. Instead of, just distributing this huge amount of money that they've gotten, building a wonderful culture and society and economic prosperity for them, instead it has one purpose, which is to annihilate Jews. And kids, their schools are named after Jew killers, their streets are named after Jew killers. They are paid bounties to kill Jews.
A majority of Palestinians in Gaza support a 2-state solution.
Well, the polls I've seen right now, I'm all for a 2-state solution. Show me how it happens. The last time that Arafat was offered that, which was by Clinton and Ehud Barak in 2001, he was offered everything that the Palestinians had asked for. Everything, and except for 3% of the West Bank, and they said, we'll give you 3% of Israel. And those are the suburbs around major Israeli cities that are settled. Oh, and Arafat walked out of that negotiation without a counteroffer, and he later explained to Prince Bandar, if I made a deal, anybody who makes a deal with the Israelis, they will be killed by our own people.
So just to finish this up, sir.
They've been offered a 2-state solution plenty of times.
She asked you about your end game. So I just want to get a definitive answer on that. She asked you about your end game, which is, let's say Israel, and we agreed, there's no justification of Hamas. Hamas is a criminal enterprise. It's gone. What does a 2-state solution look like under the Kennedy administration? The Biden administration is pushing the Palestinian Authority. Netanyahu says no. So is that something that you envision?
Listen,
is Israel going to lead?
First of all, the President of the United States cannot decree that, there's going to be a 2-state solution. What we can do is we can pressure Israel, but more importantly, we can use our influence. I think what we need to be doing is to encouraging the Solomon Accords, encouraging peace in the region, encouraging ultimately peace is going to come from prosperity.
Would you condition aid to try to secure a 2-state solution, or at least to end the illegal settlements?
I would encourage it, but as I said, more importantly, I would encourage the other nations. I would be talking on the phone right now with President Xi, with President Putin, with all the leaders of the Arab world, and trying to get some kind of collaboration, because I think ultimately that's what's going to happen. But until that, one of the problems, one of the dilemmas for Israel right now is you can say to Israel, let's turn this over to the UN. The UN has never, the blue helmets have always left as soon as the shooting starts.
Sure.
And the UN will not even condemn Hamas. So how is, and then the other Arab states have solidified of all, expressed solidarity in support of Hamas. So how is Israel to, expect now to turn its fate, its destiny, its duty to protect its own people from danger over to people who say, we don't think there's anything wrong with Hamas, what Hamas did?